Hello everybody, recently Smile 2 got a physical release, and so I took that as a sign to rewatch the two movies and talk about the trauma demon, what we know so far, and what the future of the franchise could look like. Also, real quick, if you like horror movies, please hit that subscribe button. It is free, and I'm trying to grow this channel, and I hope you'll stick around. This video is really for people who have seen these movies and are familiar with the franchise, so spoiler alert, I will be talking about the plot details of both of these movies. In the first film, we follow Rose Cutter, a psychologist and nurse who becomes the new host of a dangerous supernatural entity after witnessing a traumatic event. This entity manifests as bizarre hallucinations and nightmarish visions, blurring the lines of reality. While it is not actually given a name in the movie franchise, what we will call it is the trauma demon, a malevolent creature that psychically attacks the hosts and then makes them take their own lives in front of someone, basically passing on the curse to the witness. This is called the trauma demon for a reason, as it lives and breathes trauma and essentially transmits like a parasite or a disease to the next person. The rules are pretty simple. The creature possesses them, makes them take their own lives, which then transmits into the witness. But of course, the characters don't willingly take their own lives. Instead, the trauma demon chips away at their mental sanity, eventually possessing them completely and puppeteering them to take their own lives, all with a smile on their face. Rose works with her ex-boyfriend, Joel, a police officer, to discover that there's been over 20 people in this death chain who have mysteriously witnessed a suicide and then committed suicide themselves a week later. This gets labeled as the death chain. This curse seems impossible to escape, but Rose and Joel learn about a man named Robert Talley who claims to have broken the curse by murdering an innocent person and passing the trauma onto a completely random stranger, essentially skipping himself in the chain. But Robert Talley is serving life in prison, so it's not really a great compromise for him. Yes, he spared himself the suicide, but now he's stuck in jail for the rest of his life, essentially just rotting away with this knowledge of this demonic creature, which has left him pretty mentally scarred. But he does mention that there was a death chain in Brazil, possibly hinting at the origins of the curse. This idea of committing a heinous murder and passing on the curse to somebody else, skipping yourself, becomes a pretty viable solution for the afflicted. What's really cool about the Smile movies is that we discover information about the curse at the same time as the characters are investigating it. So a lot of the origins of the curse are left as a mystery, which I think is really fun because we get to speculate and theorize a lot more freely without the constrictions of a solid legend or a backstory, essentially leaving the audience in just as much confusion as the characters in the movie. Because she is seemingly out of options, Rose decides that she's going to isolate herself in her family's rundown home, which is out in the countryside, and she's going to try and starve the creature. She thinks that if she isolates herself and doesn't have any witnesses, then the creature will potentially not take her life. Except it really backfires for her here. By separating herself from other people, she basically leaves herself open to the demonic attacks, and she kind of goes 3 layers deep into hallucinations, and the creature tricks her into thinking she has a false victory and then pulls the rug under from her and really just breaks her mind. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like, she separates herself from other people so she doesn't pass the curse on, but then the creature has full reign of her mind and it essentially breaks her even more. The first movie ends with Rose completely possessed and puppeteered and taking her own life in front of Joel and passing the curse on to him, and the movie just ends abruptly. With Smile 1, we get the initial rules of the curse and how it's passed on from person to person, but we also get introduced to the loophole that you can potentially murder somebody else and skip yourself in the death chain. But we also learn that there could potentially be a way to isolate yourself from other people and cut off the food source of the demon. So we do get some ideas of how we could potentially defeat or stop or survive this curse. It also sets up the importance of having another person there to help you and believe you, as Joel and Rose trusting each other is really what propels them to know more about the curse, and I think it's the reason that Rose is able to hold on to her sanity for as long as she could. So now we move to Smile 2. This movie picks right up with Joel as he tries to pass the curse onto some drug dealers and weapons dealers, some criminals that he knows might deserve the curse. So he goes into their safe house and tries to murder one of the brothers in order to pass the curse on. But he fails in a spectacular fashion and accidentally passes the curse on to a low-level drug dealer named Lewis, who is really just an innocent bystander in the situation. Through Lewis, the demon is able to contact Sky Riley, a famous pop star that Lewis deals drugs to, and sends a text message to, which Lewis has no recollection of sending, showing us that this creature, this demon, can possess and puppeteer its hosts in order to lure in other people. This is a malevolent and intelligent creature. The trauma demon's approach in Smile 2 mirrors that of the first film, as it mentally breaks down and demolishes Sky Riley, taking control of her completely and giving her hope and then tearing it away. Taking somebody like a pop star who is already dealing with addiction and trauma and then injecting even more nightmares into her life. It's a great thing to see in a horror movie, but it's a horrific deconstruction of a character. Sky Riley is absolutely destroyed during this movie. The really cool thing about Smile 2 is we are introduced to a character named Morris. Morris is a character, an onlooker, who has been studying the curse and watching the victims. He's been obsessed with it since it took his brother. He believes that he has discovered a potential loophole in the curse. He wants to slow Sky Riley's heart down so she is clinically dead for a few seconds before he brings her back to life. Unfortunately, he doesn't get to test his theory, because the moment that Sky Riley learns about Morris's plan, the demon really ramps the intensity up and possesses and puppeteers Sky Riley almost immediately. I think it was very intentional to have the demon become a lot more aggressive at this stage of the movie, because it knows that Morris's plan could potentially work, and it fears for its own safety. And I really think that Morris's plan could be the way that the curse is stopped completely. At the end of Smile 2, Sky Riley is completely possessed and takes her own life in front of hundreds of people at her live concert. The implications of the ending of Smile 2 is that hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people, have now become afflicted by the trauma curse. Now, the biggest question is what happens in Smile 3? Where do we go from here? We might see an outbreak of mass suicide in the wake of Sky Riley's concert. Now that so many people have inherited the trauma, we could potentially see an apocalyptic style event take place as this trauma curse spreads throughout the country and potentially the world. This could see the world completely changed, and characters like Robert Talley and Morris could lead people to get rid of the curse in various ways that we've already seen set up in the franchise. We could see groups abusing the loophole by murdering people and passing the trauma onto their enemies. Or we could have people like Morris undergoing dangerous procedures to slow their heart down and become resurrected to get rid of the curse that way. Or we could see communities adopting Rose's strategy by isolating their communities in the wilderness to reduce exposure to the afflicted. This could be a very interesting apocalypse that's unlike anything we've seen, a really creative concept that could come. But what I'm really curious about is how Parker Finn could build and expand on the rules of the trauma curse. I think before we go full apocalyptic, there is one piece of the puzzle remaining. Potentially another way to defeat the curse. Something that is hidden in the origin story of the curse. Something that could be explored in a potential prequel. Now, I know that prequels for horror movies can be pretty tricky and feel pretty redundant, but I think it would be really cool to see the origins of the curse and explore how it started and potentially see if there are any other solutions to stopping this creature before we dive into the apocalyptic scenario that could have happened in the wake of Sky Riley's final concert. But whatever happens, I am super excited for more Smile. I love these movies, I love this franchise, and if Parker Finn is at the helm, I'm sure we are in good hands. Also, apparently there's a rumor that Parker Finn is going to be remaking Possession from 1981, and I couldn't think of a better director to front that project, especially how weird and dreadful that movie could get. So I'm all for whatever Parker Finn does next. He's impressed me as a director and a writer, and I'm just really excited to see what he creates and what nightmare fuel he's gonna give us next. Well, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know down in the comments below your opinion on the Smile movies. Remember to keep being creative, keep watching horror movies, and I'll see you in the next video.